The inner city arena did not sit on the land. It was the land itself. Carved from the spine of the black iron mountain, it breezed a twilight sky stained with violet and crimson. This was a place of raw power, where the very air was thick with the echoes of 1,000 years of battle. Stones thrummed with a deep, resonant hum. The air tasted of ozone and spilled chi. Massive pillars, each the width of an ancient tree, clawed at the sky. Their surfaces were covered in runes that pulsed with a faint silver light, the script of a long-dead empire. Tens of thousands of spectators filled the stands, their sect uniforms blurred into a churning sea of jade, crimson, and gold. Their eyes were sharp, their killing intent and excitement a palpable pressure descending on the arena floor. High above, colossal statues of the sect's founding patriarchs loomed from the cliff faces. Their stone gazes were cold, unyielding, eternal judges of the trials below. A disciple was less than an ant beneath their silent watch. In the dead center lay the core arena. Its flagstones were scuffed, cracked, and stained dark from untold gallons of blood spilled over centuries. Lin Wei stepped forward. The roar of the crowd faded to a dull hum in his ears. His gaze was steady, his breathing controlled. A murmur rippled through the onlookers as he took his place, the quiet disciple, the one who never showed off. The announcer's voice, amplified by a chi formation, boomed across the plateau. It was a voice honed by arrogance and power. "Welcome, disciples! Welcome to the Crucible! Here, power is not measured in flashy tricks or pretty illusions. It is measured in the mastery of flesh and bone. Show us your core strength." Lin Wei's voice was a quiet counterpoint to the thunderous announcement, heard only by those nearest him. Strength isn't force alone. It is control over every fiber, every sinew, every drop of blood. A rival disciple from the Crimson Blade Sect sneered, stepping forward to stretch his limbs. His chi was wild, untamed. "The old ways don't win battles today, Lin Wei. Speed and spectacle are the new path to the heavens." Lin Wei's eyes hardened, but he offered no reply. Silence was its own answer. A tension crackled in the air between them, sharp and clear. Around them, the preliminary trials were already a storm of chaos. Disciples battled not each other, but the arena itself. They'd punched massive granite boulders, their fists wrapped in glowing chi. A palm strike landed. Boom! The sound cracked like thunder as a 10-foot boulder exploded into a cloud of fine dust. Whoosh! A disciple soared 30 feet into the air. His leg was a blur. His kick connected with a stone pillar, and with a deafening crack, he shattered it from the middle. The ground shook with each blow. The entire mountain plateau trembled. Muscles bulged like coiled serpents. Veins popped beneath skin slick with sweat and blood. The air was filled with the screams of torn tendons and the grunts of disciples pushing their bodies past every mortal limit. They were breaking themselves to be reborn stronger. Lin Wei watched it all, silent, calculating. His spirit was a calm lake reflecting a violent storm. The announcer shouted again, his voice ringing with fanaticism. "This is the legacy of the Iron Fist Patriarch. He taught us that the body is the first and final weapon. Only the truly strong endure." As if in response, the runes on the arena floor glowed brighter. The ancient chi formation pulsed, verifying the raw power of every strike, its energy sinking into the disciples to test their foundations. There were no illusions here, no shortcuts, only the brutal truth of one's own power. Later that night, Lin Wei retreated to his secluded pavilion. It clung to the edge of a misty cliff, a solitary structure overlooking a sea of clouds.
Crystals embedded in the walls pulsed with a soft blue light, resonating with the chi frequencies of the mountain. The fusion of aged cultivation and forgotten technology surrounded him. This was his sanctuary. In his hand, an arcane device glowed, a smooth black shard he called the system. Streams of data, charts, and glowing numbers flashed before his eyes. He began to practice the rotary dragon step. His feet moved not in straight lines, but in tight spiraling circles. Centrifugal force began to build, a vortex of kinetic energy centering on his dantian. His muscles tightened like steel cables, then released in a sudden explosive pulse. Energy, raw and potent, converged in his limbs, flowing not just through his meridians, but through the very cells of his flesh. "The Tao is balance," Lin Wei murmured, his voice absorbed by the mist. "An external power must meet internal harmony." A disembodied voice echoed in his memory, soft yet firm, the last lesson his old mentor had given him. "Your body is your first temple. Fortify it. The Tao is not a river that flows through you. It is an ocean, and you must build a vessel strong enough to contain it." Lin Wei's palm struck a stack of thick stone slabs. Crack! The first layer shattered, but the rest held. The impact sent a painful shockwave up his arm. His bones ached, his muscles screamed in protest, but his chi, calm and controlled, surged through him like a warm tide. It sped the healing, repairing micro-tears in his muscles almost as fast as they appeared, weaving them back stronger than before. More strikes, harder, faster, each one a perfect application of force. System analysis. Right shoulder misalignment, 3.4% power loss, correct angle by 2 degrees. The system data analyzed every move. It showed him inefficiencies he could never perceive on his own. It suggested corrections with cold, inhuman precision. Despite the agony lancing through his arm, he let a small grin touch his lips. Breaking your limits was an agony few could endure, but for those who could, it was also a quiet ecstasy.
The next day, the sun rose on the final stage of the tournament. The arena was ready. Lin Wei stood opposite his opponent, the same brash disciple from the Crimson Blade Sect. The rival's name was Jin Tao. "The Thunderclap Strike will end this quickly," Jin Tao boasted, his eyes wild and his chi flaring around him like white lightning. "Don't blink or you'll miss your own defeat." Lin Wei stood calm, an unmoving rock in the center of a gathering storm. Strength without direction is merely wind without purpose. The bell sounded, its ancient chime echoing across the mountain. They clashed. The impact was a deafening explosion of force and speed. Jin Tao's thunderclap strikes ripped through the air. Each punch unleashed a sharp jolt of external chi, a miniature sonic boom designed to disorient and overwhelm. The air itself seemed to shatter with each blow. Lin Wei's 5 elements palm answered, a calm, flowing sequence of blows that held the weight of the world. His first strike was earth, heavy, solid, immovable. It met Jin Tao's fist and crushed his forward momentum completely. His second was metal, sharp, piercing, and precise. It cut through his opponent's chaotic chi, finding the weakness in his stance. His third was water. It flowed around a furious barrage of attacks, redirecting Jin Tao's own power against him. His fourth was fire. It did not burn, but ignited his own energy in a fierce, explosive counterstrike that sent Jin Tao stumbling back. His fifth was wood, resilient and revitalizing. It struck again and again, each blow building on the last, a growing, inexorable force. The crowd gasped. They were witnessing a masterclass in foundational arts. Rocks on the arena floor crumbled to dust. Stone shattered into splinters beneath the storm of their rapid impacts.
Their movements were blurs of lightning and shadow. But where Jin Tao's strikes were sharp and fleeting, Lin Wei's landed with the weight of a collapsing mountain. The echoes of his blows were deeper, heavier, reverberating through the very bones of the spectators. Jin Tao's muscles trembled, his breath coming in ragged pants. Neither yielded. "Impossible," he panted, his face pale. "My technique is lightning. How do you match lightning with stone?" Lin Wei's eyes burned with an inner fire, his voice low and steady. "Because stone endures long after the lightning has faded." The final bell rang. Both stood locked in place, utterly exhausted, their chi depleted. A draw. Far above, behind silk curtains in a private chamber, the tournament organizer watched. In the dim light, his aged hands traced glowing chi patterns on a crystalline interface. He was an old man, a core formation master, whose gaze could pierce through flesh and see the flow of chi itself. He studied the unique signature of Lin Wei's energy, dense, stable, perfectly balanced. The core formation master smiled, a rare and genuine expression. A disciple who walks the Tao, not merely its shadow. This Lin Wei is a dark horse. A subordinate standing beside him voiced his doubt. "Elder, his power is steady, but it is not explosive. He lacks the overwhelming force of the top seeds." The organizer's voice was firm, carrying the wisdom of centuries. True strength is not the flood that washes away a village. It is the mountain that is left standing after 1,000 floods have passed. He tapped the ancient chi interface. Softly, it clicked. Old archives glowed, showing the names and battle records of past legends. So many of them had risen not from explosive talent, but from quiet, unyielding strength. Lin Wei's path had just begun. The trials had awakened something. The world, once simple, had begun to shift. Lin Wei's body ached with a deep, satisfying pain. His chi hummed, a quiet song of power settling into his bones. Balance, control, endurance. The Tao was not a distant concept. It was the feeling of his own blood flowing through his veins, the rhythm of his own heart. He would endure, and he would rise.